Hi, hello. We are in with the week 4 now of our social work, Filipino personality and social work, rather. So we are now in the theory of ego psychology as of Hamburger Erickson or Erik Erickson. Hamburger was born on the June 15, 1902. He studied a Montessori system which influenced his interest in play therapy as child analysis. Throughout his career, Erickson viewed himself as a psychoanalyst talaga. So, there is a part of him that is related din sa psychoanalytic theory ni Freud. Erickson is the author of the several books, including Childhood and Society, Young Man Luther, and a lot of more. Erickson's view of nature, Erickson extends the study of developing childs during puberty. So, he selected that ego as a tool. There are times kasi na we are talking about someone in our conversation, at some point, example, like one of these conversations, please don't use your ego. Ganon. Parang napasama yung dating sa ego. Okay? But here in Erickson, in his theory, ego psychology, he selected the ego as a tool by which a person organizes outside information, tests perception, select memories, governs action, adaptive, and integrates capabilities. Kumbaga, this positive ego. Positive yung tingin niya sa ego. No? This positive ego produces a sense of self in a state of heightened well-being. So, ang goal talaga lahat ng mga theories, especially in psychoanalytic paradigm, is for a person to be self-realized, self-actualized person. This state of well-being is when what one thinks and does is close to what he wishes and feels he or she thought to be. Erickson's superego is as barbaric as the id. The resolution of the crisis. So, according to Erickson, the main focus should be in the ego. A strong ego is characterized by 8 virtues resulting from positive solution of each crisis. Meron siya dito 4 na stage. Resolution of a crisis is reversible. For example, a person leaving the first stage of development without developing basic trust may gain it at a later stage, and a person having it lose the later. So, kumbaga, pag hindi mo talaga napasahan yung first stage, maapektuhan yung second stage sa'yo. So, ganon. An epigenetic model of human development according to Erickson. Epigenetic development begins with a single fertilized cell that initiates a process of division and differentiation. The sequence of development from single cell to organism follows a clear pattern of sequence. Each organ of the body has its own time and special growth. So, parang ito yung concept ni Erik Erickson, no? It's like we are cell. There is a time in which we develop, in which the cell develops, and if that part of the cell, that time na dapat siya mag-develop, hindi siya develop, partly, baka hindi siya ma-develop talaga. No, or kumbaga darating siya sa stage na yan, hindi develop yung past development niya or past life niya or rather past na mangyaring development sa kanya, posibleng hindi siya mag-grow. Each stage has a crisis in which the strength and skills that form the essential element on that stage was developed and tested. Ego psychology, Erickson gave the ego properties and needs of its own. The ego may have started out in which of the id, but in the process of serving it, develop its own function. For example, if the ego's job is to organize one's life and to ensure continuous harmony with one's physical and social environment. Because Erickson stressed the autonomy of the ego, his theory was called ego psychology. So here comes, no? The first theory, the first stage was the basic trust versus mistrust. Birth to 1 years old. So, the infants here develop trust or mistrust. So, alam naman natin. So, para siyang ito yung, let's say, oral stage din sa kang Freud. So, dito, pag yung bata dito, trust pa yung dapat ma-develop sa kanya. No, trust, no? Nagtatrust siya. Kumbaga, umaasa lang siya ba sa iba. Example, sa parent niya, sa mama niya, particularly. And yung yung dapat ma-learn dito ng bata is hope. Sabi nga dito, pag yung bata, hindi mag-learn ng trust, magiging mistrustful siya sa ibang tao, no? And darating sa buhay niya na wala siyang hope, no? So, pag na-build yung trust ng isang bata, magiging hopeful yung isang bata paglaki. The second is the autonomy versus shame and doubt between 2 to 3 years old. So, dito, no, yung bata is according to this stage, no, the ability to hold on or to let go, no, the autonomy, toilet training. So parang kung i-comparison to kang Freud, ito yung parang anal part, no, the anal, regarding the anus. So dito na part yung bata, 2 to 3 years old, marunong na siyang to hold on, to let go, especially in toilet training, natututunan ng magbanyo. Here comes yung bata, dapat matutunan niya yung autonomy versus shame and doubt. Kung hindi siya marunong mag-autonomy, no, hindi niya matutunan yung having autonomy in his own life, magiging shameful siya or doubtful sa paglaki niya. No, ang dapat niya matutunan dito is having that will. Kung ma-develop niya yung autonomy niya dito, he will have a will in his life. No, that he can do things on his own. No, kaya niya yung sarili niya. Initiative versus guilt naman, the third one, no, between 4 to 5 years. Dito na part, kung titignan natin, maybe sa 5 years old mo, you are in the preschool, kinder, or ano ba? No, so ano ba, saan ka? So dito na part, magkakameron yung bata ng initiative. No, matututunan niya yung mastery language and develop. Kung yung bata hindi niya matutunan yung initiative niya, no, magkaka-guilt siya. Guilty siya lagi sa buhay niya. And of course, dapat niyang kung magkakameron siya ng initiative diyan, purpose yung matutunan niya, magkakameron siya ng purpose sa buhay niya. The fourth one is the industry versus inferiority. So dito, yung bata, kung titingnan natin yung edad, 6 to 11 years old, this is estimatedly the school age, di ba? 6 years old ka na, grade 1 up to 12 ka, elementary ka. So dito yung bata, no, being industrious. No, pag hindi niya ma-learn yung pagiging hindi siya industrious dito, he will be inferior in his later life. Ang dapat niya matutunan dito, kung matututo siya ng being industrious, he will build competence. Okay? Identity versus identity confusion. So, yung age dito ng bata is 12 to 20 years old. No, dito na age, dito na yung new roles are tried, no? Developing skills, no? In transition. Dito na rin na stage yung bata, dapat malaman niya yung identity niya. Kasi kung hindi, magkakameron siya na identity confusion sa edad na to, 12 to 20. Dito, ang kailangan niya ma-build, kung magiging kung ma-assure niya identity niya, he will have a fidelity. Okay? And of course, the second one is the intimacy, the 6th one pala, intimacy versus isolation, between the age of 20 to 24. Dito, yung edad ng isang bata, dapat dito na siya magkakameron ng mutuality, love partner, and sexual identity. Alam niya, magkakameron siya ng intimacy. Kung dito na part, magkakameron siya ng intimacy, malalearn niya to sa edad na to, no? He will develop love. Magla-love siya at hindi naman mag-isolate siya sa sarili niya. The 7th one is the generativity versus stagnation. Between age 25 to, from the word generation, generativity. From the 25 to 65 years old. In this stage, if a person is concerned, he developed this aspect of generativity, he will have a care in his generation. Kung hindi naman, no, he will be stagnant sa pagtanda niya. The 8th one, is the ego integrity versus despair between 65 years old to death. So dito, no, kung acceptance of unique lifestyle with its triumph and failure. So kung dito na part, no, yung isang elder, no, this age, magiging integrity siya, magkakaroon integrity sa ego niya, he will develop wisdom, kung hindi naman despair or even death. No, so Erickson's formulated the golden rule in the light of modern psychological understanding. He states that worthwhile moral acts strengthen the doer as they strengthen his values and enhance relationship between the two. Okay, so summary of Erickson's stage, no, of development, no. So ito na yon. Trust and mistrust, 1 years old, no. Hope yung mag-emerge kung successful. Kung hindi naman, fear, matatakot yung isang bata. Next one is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. 2 to 3 years old, no, magkakameron siya, kung successful siya dyan na age, willpower, mag-emerge. O kung hindi, self-doubt. The third one is the initiative versus guilt. 4 to 5 years old, no, if the crisis is successfully resolved, direction and purpose sa life. Kung hindi naman, ang worthiness. The fourth one is industry and priority. 6 to 11 years old. If successful siya dyan, competence yung madidevelop sa kanya. And if hindi, inferior. The fifth one is the identity versus role confusion between 12 to 20. Kung successful siya dyan, fidelity. And next is, or certainty, kung hindi naman. Intimacy, love, promiscuity. Kung hindi successful, generativity versus stagnation, care yung develop, kung hindi, selfishness. Ego integrity naman, wisdom. Kung hindi, despair. So, ito yung evaluation sa Erickson strongly believed that personality is developed in sequential, no? Sequence talaga, no? And consists a critical period. He introduced the term of psychosocial development, ego strength, identity crisis, and life cycles. Okay? Here are our guide question, no? Let's move on to the theory of Alfred Adler. The term, by the way, Adler was born on February 7, 1890 in Vienna, Austria. He finished his doctorate in medicine and published a book, Practice and Theory and Individual Psychology. He died in the age of 67 while lecture touring Scotland. The term individual psychology was used by Adler to stress his belief that each person is an integrated whole, striving to attain future goals and attempting to find meaning in life while working harmoniously with others. So, ito yung concept niya. You are individual as a whole. You strive. No, you develop. You attempt to find meaning in life. The view of human nature according to Adler, Adler's views of human nature was in direct conflict with Freud. Bakit? While Adler acknowledged the presence of unconscious forces, he minimized its significance by describing unconsciousness as simply temporary awareness. So, kung bakit temporary lang yun? No, you have the control of your individuality according to Adler. Structure of personality according to Adler, no organ inferiority. People are more vulnerable to disease in organs that are less developed or inferior than organs. Example, a person born with a weak stomach or weak heart is more likely to have problems with these organs. So, ganon. The second concept of ito ba, no? In some cases, person can overcompensate by converting a biological weakness into strong point. So, mag-strive talaga. You are striving. Kahit pa meron kang problema at you're individual, you are going to strive to find meaning. Example dito, si Theodore Roosevelt, no, was a frail child, but later he became athlete, demonstrated, had speech problem, and became a renowned author. Next is the feelings of inferiority. All child starts life with feelings of inferiority, since they are completely dependent on adults for survival. This feeling of being weak, inferior, impotent stimulate the intense to desire to seek power. So, ikaw, naapi ka dati, you have this feeling of inferiority, you will strive to seek power. Magpupursige ka sa buhay mo. The stages of development according to Erickson naman, Adler does not postulate any stage of development. Instead, he emphasized the importance of family atmosphere and family constellation. Family constellation refers to one's position within family in terms of birth. So, siya yung nag-theorize regarding ano yung meaning ng birth order ng isang tao. So, ito na yung mga birth order natin. Tinignan dyan kung ano yung nagiging problema, birth constellation, at ano yung style of life ng mga regarding at birth. So, example, no, 3 entrances gates to mental life. Adler referred to birth order, first memories, and dream analysis as the 3 entrance gates. So, yan yon. To mental, no, itong first memories, birth order, dream analysis. He studied them extensively to discern the origins of lifestyle. No, ito, isa din to, style of life, na nasabi ni Erickson. Di ba, may mga times tayo na, ay, firstborn ka, ikaw, spoil ka siguro. May mga ganun. Yan yun, actually. Yun yung theory ni Adler. So, isa dyan sa entrance gates niya is that the birth order, the firstborn. Sabi diyan, yung firstborn dan is that is focus of attention until the next child is born. Totoo nga. He call it the dethrone. Kung ikaw yung pinanganak na mauna, focus pa yung attention sa iyo, no? Sa parents mo. Nang may ikanlawa na, you are the dethrone. The second born is the most fortunate. Is extremely ambitious since he or she is constantly attempting to catch up and surpasses the older siblings. Most fortunate. The youngest one is the spoiled. And meron ito, the only child is never dethroned by another siblings but experiencing siya since she cannot remain the center of attention. Okay? First memories. Ano yung first memories? Is a research technique of asking a person to describe his or her earliest recollection. No? These recollections are evidence of the origin of the one style of life. Dream analysis is a method where dreams are used to provide a way of dealing person's life and problems. Evaluations of Adler's theory. Gusto ko itong ka-Adler eh. I believe there is a feeling of inferiority within us, but it's your decision that can change your individuality, your personality to that. According to him, your unconsciousness is just temporary. you can still have chance talaga to change your life by your decisions. Gusto ko yun. So, further search sa theory ni Adler, no? It's a nice theory. Adler's theory culminates and found its ultimate expression in his insistence to understand an individual by comprehending his or her attitude in relation to the world. Thus, Adler, the person is primarily a social creature rather than a sexual creature, as according to Freud. The concept is considered the climax of studies is the theory of creative self. You can really create yourself. You have person's unique style of life. Create yourself by your decisions. Ganun yung motto ni Adler. All people are basically good and that hard work will eventually pay off. You just reap what you sow. Ganun yung concept kang Adler. But then, hindi pa huli yung lahat. In Adler yan, vocabulary, such are this basic concept of fictional finalism. So, fictional finalism cannot be treated as reality because they are not scientific hypotheses that can be put to crucial experiment. They are constructs, no construct or invention of human psyche that arises as encounter in the world. So, fosters productive life. Yan yung pinoposter talaga ni Adler, to be a productive person. Okay, we make and create our own personalities. Adler's greatest contribution to psychology is his study of birth order or personality. Better society in harmony with people, creative self, restored consciousness, and of course, we are aware of everything we do through self-examination. Okay, so summary sa Adler, no? He emphasized the shifted from intrapsychic within the psyche, which is basically Freudian, to interpsychic, na interpersonal relations with one another, especially our environment. So, ito yung summary sa kaibahan po ng theory ni Freud at saka ni Adler. So, Freud emphasis on the unconscious mind. Adler emphasis on the conscious mind. Future goals are unimportant. To Adler, future goals are important sources of motivation. Of course, you are looking forward for something. Biological motives are primary. Social motives are primary. Pessimistic about human existence. Optimistic. Negative kasi si Freud eh. Parang ganon. Dreams are used to detect contents. Dreams are tools and problems. Personality is completely determined by heredity and environmental factors. Personality is determined by the individual himself. Maximize the importance of sex. Minimize the importance of sex. Goal of therapy is to discover, repress early memories. Minimize the importance of sex. Goal therapy is to encourage lifestyle, incorporate social interests. Here's our guide questions to the individual psychology. Okay?